It comes every night without fail. There are different people every time.
Let's get this done quickly. Get whatever the warden want and get home.
But I recognize them somehow.
What the hell is this place?
They're screaming at me. I don't hear them, but I know they're screaming.
You got anything?
Such hate and anger.
I hope you bastards are looking up once in a while. Those fuckers might be anywhere.
I don't know what I have done to them.
This place is so damn dark. Sleepers.
They want me to feel what they feel.
This is good, man. This is good stuff. It'll trade. Everything trades. Oh, fuck. To be honest, any second, keep your eyes on that door. Ah, shit, there's fucking loads of them.
Then I wake up. I'm not sweating or screaming. I'm perfectly calm. I just open my eyes and I'm awake. And it's not a nightmare. It's just part of me, who I am. I don't fight it. I just live around it.
What the hell?
Well, my guest today is Simon Viklund from 10 Chambers Collective, currently working on GTFO. Simon, could you give me some background on how 10 Chambers Collective started?
It's a group of people that actually all of us except one guy have all worked together previously in different companies. So the common denominator is Ulf Anderson, who founded 10 Chambers. So he brought in sort of a skeleton crew of people because he wanted to get back to really the roots of game development and get back to, you know, really hands-on game development and small team size, because he's been, you know, head of design on 2 different companies that have grown really big.
Right.
Grin from late 90s to 2009, and then Overkill was bought by Starbreeze, and Starbreeze became, I mean, it was bigger than we were at that point, bigger than Overkill. And then after they bought our company and continued development of Payday 2, it grew even bigger. I think it's like 300 people now or something, maybe more. So he wanted to get away from the, you know, the board meetings and
right. Get back to the fun of it.
yeah, to the fun and the, you know, the grit and the dirt of actual game design and game development. So we're all you know, old friends and old experienced game developers within different fields, and everyone has to wear a lot of hats because we're just 8 people.
Yeah, 8 people.
Actually, we have a 9th guy who joined just last week. So we're 9 people now. But yeah, so that's pretty much how it all began.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's a lot of indie companies out there, or companies that are just starting out, that are taking these chances at new IPs that are really small, contained teams. And I think that's what people appreciate, because it's not this big corporation that's pushing these huge AAA platform games, and there's a lot of hands in the pot. In this case, you guys are small, you all know each other, and you're pushing out something that you actually love and that you're passionate about.
Absolutely. I mean, since we don't have an external, external funding in any way, we can do exactly what we want.
Right.
We can produce a niche product, which is actually what we're going for. It's something that no one would be able to see actually come out of a bigger studio. but still try to really squeeze out every bit of talent that we have within the company and make it look as pretty and as dazzling as possible still. So it's I don't know if it's triple I, if that's really
triple indie,
if that's a popular term, but it's or double A or something. I don't know. I don't know what the criteria are for different. But we're trying to make something sort of what we did with the first Payday game, really.
Yeah.
But that was still a bigger team. Like we brought in a lot of graphic artists and stuff, and produced a lot of content with the help of some students from a game development school here in Stockholm. So we brought in some guys and girls there from there. But for this game, we're just trying to really keep it like it's just the core team,
right?
And then bring in a few, nothing permanent, but maybe a few like freelance people.
Yeah, some freelance, some spot fillers that can attack a certain type of what needs to get done.
And all those people, yeah, exactly, and all those will be experienced people as well, right, that we've worked with before, and that we know that they're good.
Yeah, you can count on them to do what needs to be done for that, whatever they're working on.
Exactly.
And you guys are out of Stockholm, Sweden, right?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Exactly.
And you personally, you've been in game development, game design, but mainly composing and music for quite a long time. How long have you been doing this for? You personally?
Professionally, I've been working with games since 2000. So it'll be 18 years this year.
Wow, you've worked on a lot of stuff and a lot of different companies. You've worked with Ulf for a long time. And which is nice is what's carried on to 10 Chambers is you guys, not just you and Ulf, but the whole team have worked on a lot of projects together.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've known Ulf since high school. We went to the same.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we went to the same class in high school, and so yeah, and he was into game development then. And we would like mod, Doom 2 or change the weapons. They were just sprite. We would change the textures and create our own levels and stuff, and kind of design our own games based on, or like mod, not design our, but mod other games and sit up late and come late to school because we was
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, in his room and just side by side and just.
It's cool to find that person when you're young like that you kind of grow with into a career together and end up creating these awesome things that you give to the rest of the world. That's really an awesome, amazing thing. Yeah,
and so then he started Grin, and I joined Grin in 2000.
Okay. And then from Grin, you guys went to Overkill, and you went freelance. You worked with him, but you also did your own thing. It was like that whole specialist thing. He called you in when he had something he needed you for.
The Grin went bankrupt in 2009, and then just a month, maybe later, a month and a half tops, we started something new, and that was Overkill Software, and we borrowed Basement. It wasn't really made for to have an office there because we plugged so many computers and stuff and monitors and things into the wall sockets that when you started the microwave, there was a big risk of all the fuses blowing.
Right, tripping everything, blowing the fuses, losing power.
Yeah, so whenever someone would go to the microwave to heat up their lunch, they would be like, "Okay, everybody, save your work now because there's a risk of everything shutting down now." And then it happened, every other day.
Someone still wants to heat up their burrito. You better save everything.
Exactly. So that was bad. Yeah. And in the beginning, we that was in like late 2009, and smartphones were kind of coming more and more. I think the first maybe one or two models of the iPhone had come out, so there wasn't as many. The app market wasn't as flooded as it is today.
Right.
So we thought that we had a chance to produce something that could end up on the iTunes, or the App Store.
Right.
So one day Ulf came and he was like, "I don't think we should do apps anymore. Let's go back to making quote unquote actual games." Because we were doing some puzzle games and some of those, buttons with fart noises sort of apps, that became popular. We just saw other people, getting rich off of stuff that we could do.
Yeah, like we could do that too.
Yeah, in like an afternoon. But we left all that because he came and he had this elevator pitch, which was Left 4 Dead, but instead of zombies, cops. Yeah. So that became Payday.
You're the characters in Heat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, actually, a few years earlier, Dane Cook was pretty popular, and he had this bit where he talked about like every guy wants to be part of the heist,
getting shot in the leg.
Yeah, it's I think he starts by saying like women think that men only want sex, but there's only one thing that every guy wants, part of a heist.
Yeah,
and he has this bit about heat, and there's this guy on the headset that keeps hacking into some system. I'm in Friendster now, and I mean it's a good bit. So
really
so
is.
he had that, like Dane Cook has something there. Like
Yeah, it's kind of true.
We never I mean Dane Cook is the most popular stand-up comedian, at least not nowadays. We never actually used that in the marketing. He has a great screaming voice, so I actually entertained the idea of actually having him as a character in the game. Like,
that would have been perfect.
That
would have been like the most meta moment to have Dane Cook. Voice acting.
Maybe now we could afford him.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's still out there. He's still doing his thing. He's still funny.
Yeah, I saw something from like 2016. So I mean,
yeah,
he's and it was good,
But Payday was such a, and you're right with that, with what he said, and the concept behind it. It is interesting because you go back, you watch these movies like Heat or maybe Point Break, where bank robberies were a thing. They were kind of romanticized about being part of a team going in and taking down a bank and getting money and being the outlaw. So to bring that concept and the idea from Left 4 Dead, where you're part of a team and you're taking on cops and you got to complete these objectives within the mission and get out with the money, was a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And we sat down and like, why hasn't anyone done this before? There has to be some kind of a game where it's, I mean, there was some missions in some Grand Theft Auto games where you rob a bank, but there was like one scenario in an 80-hour game or something. Yeah. And it was really focused on that. And then you had Caden Lynch, which was about, the criminal underworld. Yeah. Hitman sort of does some things where it's like go in and not there. That's more the silent approach, of course, but about the criminal underworld and the dealing and with coke and stuff. And but there was really no game that actually tapped into it the way Payday did. And as you said, you have Heat, you have Point Break, and there's a lot of like pop culture references to take from, actually. Which is what we've done over the years since 2011 when the first Payday game was released. References to Breaking Bad and methamphetamine, creating it, selling it. What else? You got biker gangs and the Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy
TV show. Yeah,
Outlaws and the villains kind of became the cool guys for a while there.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of that. So we had something really.
Yeah, definitely, and it came out of nowhere. I back then I wasn't expecting something like Payday to pop up, and when it did, it just took off because it was this new idea. I think people really enjoyed it, and it became very successful to the point where you guys, were allowed to go ahead and make Payday 2.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring it up. It really was, it really came out of nowhere for everyone, I'd say, because we released a trailer, I think, 1 week prior to E3 2011. Yeah. And then the game came out in like August or maybe September 2011. Yeah. And that trailer was the first anyone knew about our company or the game or anything. So it really came like, oh, we're developing this game, and it's not even 3 months. And it'll be out.
It's already out.
So people could play it at E3, and we got a lot of those, biggest surprise of the show sort of accolades. Yeah. During E3 2011. So that was, I'd say personally, I've been to E3 like 7-8 times, and that's easily the best one because we felt like rock stars in the gaming community, sort of, or the game development community. Right. We just came in with something. And really drew a lot of attention, and it felt really good. We got such a great reception to that.
I think that's kind of cool, and that's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately because there's other games that have been announced, and it takes several years to get into the development, and they're not exactly communicating what they're doing. So it leaves the fans like, okay, we've been waiting for so many years for something, just give us something, or they don't give you enough. Or it keeps getting pushed back, and all you're doing is waiting as a fan to play this game. But to come out of nowhere and be like, hey, this is something we're putting out, and oh, by the way, it's coming out in 3 months. You don't have to wait 2 more years. You don't have to wait 3 years. You're going to get to play today at E3, and you're going to be able to play this officially in 3 months. Is a smart approach to doing it.
Yeah.
You don't lose that hype that's behind it. That that fire that it creates. That buzz. You don't lose that. It's going to roll right into your launch.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
And I wish I could say that we had the same clever approach with GTFO, but that wasn't possible, actually.
That was a shock. I mean, I knew Payday, and I knew Payday 2, and I went to TwitchCon a few years ago, and Payday 2 was a big push there. There was a lot of events going around with it, which was cool. And then, the game is still going today. There's still a lot with Payday. People are still playing it, consistently. It's still got a big fan base. And then we're watching...
You mean the sequel?
Yeah, Payday 2. And we're
watching, there's been a lot of updates for it, so it's very much a
very active.
Games as a service sort of product.
Yeah.
So it's still relevant, even though it's originally released in 2013.
Yeah, it's still out there. It's still getting constant updates. Still got a consistent player base.
Definitely.
And then we come up to the Video Game Awards in December. A lot of people watching. A lot of stuff being put out that we knew was coming, as well as some new surprise stuff. And then here comes this trailer for a game that none of us knew was coming again. That nobody was expecting, at least on my side. That just blew me away, and that was GTFO.
Yeah. We weren't actually planning on showing anything for the Game Awards. It wasn't even in our frame of reference. It was just because Jeff Keighley contacted us personally, and we're like, and he was like, I've heard that you have something in development. Would you want to show something at this year's Game Awards? So it's really his mad props to Jeff Keighley for really giving us that spot,
right.
And he could actually charge us for it's worth a lot of money, that sort of
that time, the exposure.
Yeah, but it was just because he loves games and wants to show the world cool new games that are in development,
right?
And, draw attention to it. And I'm sure he gets a lot of money from the bigger sharks and the
ones that get these full showcases and
in the industry. So I don't think he's living off of scraps, but
right.
That was really really generous. But we were like, okay, it's 3 months away. The show we gotta
we gotta put
together a trailer, create something.
Yeah.
So it really started there, and at that point, it started there in terms of marketing.
Yeah.
And that was really the plan. But it was too great an opportunity
right, to pass up.
To give up. Yeah, to pass on. So we couldn't. Obviously, in December, we were not 3 months away from a release as we were with Payday at E3 2011. So that's just how it ended up being. Now everyone knows about the game.
Yeah, it's out there.
But we're and we just gotta try to keep that hype kind of going, or at least I don't know, simmering.
What's the trailer blew me away, and I was instantly hooked and wanted to know more about it, because from what I've seen, and being a fan of older, horror movies, 80s movies, stuff like that, like Aliens, and having a squad of guys face off an onslaught of a horde of monsters or whatever it is that's coming at you, has always been something I liked, and it's been done in other games. But this one, the atmosphere, the voice acting, the setting, seeing him pop up the turret and everything, and just the instant response when the noise goes off in the trailer to the swarm coming, it just hooked me. I was like, yep, this is it. I want this game. So
nice.
Yeah.
Lovely to hear that you caught all these references and that are, we really put a lot of thought into what should be shown in the trailer, and everything is really how it works in the game,
Right.
So it really shows off everything about what it's all about. Of course, there's more to the game than what's shown in the trailer, but it showcases the different moods and atmospheres of the game and the different tempos, because GTFO, there's a lot of exploration and trying to find your way and trying to find clues about where to go, and there's stealth.
Yeah, because I noticed in the beginning he says, sleepers basically stay quiet, so you're sneaking through environments to avoid noise is what's going to wake these things up.
Exactly, yeah. So you want to avoid contact, and sometimes, obviously, as shown in the trailer, contact or conflict becomes inevitable.
Yeah.
It's a game that has like it's very dynamic in terms of intensity.
Right.
It goes from no monsters and really atmospheric and creepy, and we leaves a lot of room for the dialogue.
Yeah.
And we really focus a lot on the dialogue, which is something we did we focused a lot on the dialogue in the first Payday game. It was kind of lost in the second one. We didn't think that people would miss it so much. The characters actually talking, between themselves and bantering and that sort of stuff. And we kind of moved all of the talking away from the characters. They would say like, I need a medic bag, and here's a medic bag, I need ammo, and to get down on the ground, and that basic kind of gameplay related stuff. And we moved everything that has to do with the mission to Bane, the guy on the head in the headset.
Anybody who doesn't know is you.
Yeah, that's me. I do the voice of Bane. It was just parentheses here, or I'm sidetracking here, but that was mainly a production choice. Like, it's so easy to have a guy in the studio on the team who can record, at the snap of a finger. We can change something in the level design.
Because you can record it and edit it within a couple minutes and put it back out there.
Exactly. We can re-record or change what the guy on the guy who guides the player through the level says about how you're supposed to do stuff. So that's how I came to be Bane. And I was like, for Payday 2, we got to switch, replace Bane. And by then he had become sort of a popular character. So
you got your own little fan base behind you.
Yeah, so he stayed for Payday 2 as well. Anyway, so for GTFO, we really want to go back to that and do it as we did, more like we did in Payday the Heist, the first Payday game, and explore that sort of, the banter and the talking and so we really put a lot of thought into, casting the characters, and we really want to explore, the characters and them talking, and having different personalities, how they kind of clash and how they overcome their differences and try to collaborate and work together to get out of this complex
that dialogue back and forth, and some of these, the references of the older movies that I liked that fit the theme of this. That's part of what you enjoyed, was the banter back and forth. I mean, how many times can you listen to, like, Hudson or Hicks, back in Aliens days, going back and forth, and some of those classic lines, or Vasquez and the team and everybody, just, that's the parts that you love about it. So I'm glad you guys are taking that, what you learned from Payday and Payday 2, that people want that dialogue, that character interaction. Absolutely, yeah. We've developed this very flexible and powerful dialogue system that can take into account whether a character is actually on the team. Like, if you only play 3 people together, then one guy will be missing, and then you have to be able to have that dialogue still, but maybe what that character would have said is said by someone else. And then that character has another way of saying it, and then the dialogue can actually take a different route through the sort of the lines and the different phrases that they say. So the exchanges kind of change depending on who's there. And we have a lot of things like, timing, like after a fight, they kind of evaluate why the fight began and how they can avoid that in the future. And they kind of talk about, being too far away from one another. We all these like parameters, and we measure a lot of things in the game all the time, and try to, the game engine can use all that data to kind of, okay, let's drop this, let's have this and say this line, or let's start this dialogue about this topic, because context or the situation kind of lends itself to it. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. People being out of ammo and saying, like, if you guys find ammo, maybe, tell me, because I really need some ammo. And then when another character finds ammo, they can actually say, like, hey, I got ammo over here. Oh, great. And that first guy who needed it says, like, responds to it in a way that it's almost feels giving, natural. The player what we would be talking normally if we were on headsets and stuff, like, hey, I need ammo. If you see ammo, give me some ammo. And then the other guy would spot it, hey, man, I got ammo for you over here. So, but it's the game is recognizing the situation, having the actual characters that are voiced, almost what the players would be saying. Absolutely. That's the philosophy, really. Like, we try to, like, what would the player feel or need or want to say in any given situation? Yeah. And then, of course, it's a case of trying to not do too much of that, because you grow tired of the character saying, talking all the time. Getting repetitive it makes the characters really come alive, and you feel like
if the characters become much more real when you feel that they said something that you were thinking about saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And you like them more, and you tend to like sort of bond with them in a way.
Yeah, you care more about the game and the characters. You get more invested.
Yeah, because you don't see them as simple, just AI and mechanical.
Yeah.
These game just code, repeating stuff. But it's actually measuring stuff and taking, bringing data in from what's happening in the game. And
okay. So what's the objective of your squad? I mean, what is the purpose behind it? Why are they going into it? From what I've seen, they're scavengers looking for basically loot to sell. Is there more you can fill in to that to give it some more of what's the point behind it?
Yeah, they're what we can say at this point is that they're scavengers of sort that are forced into this underground complex.
Okay.
They go down this elevator, hundreds and hundreds of yards.
Yeah, I saw that. Looks like they're almost free falling, which was cool. They're like snapped into what you expect of a carnival ride somewhere and just free fall and dropping into this place.
Yeah, it's a really like a visceral way of sort of throwing the player into the action. So yeah, you go down this. It's not an elevator shaft per se, but it's an elevator, sort of a science fiction-y thing, as you say, and it goes down this hole that obviously isn't created to be an elevator shaft, but it allows you to go down and see kind of. Becomes sort of a cross section of the complex, so you can jump out at any level and just go into
cool. Okay.
and be in the middle of a room or in the middle of a corridor or something and just jump straight into it.
Nice. Okay.
So it's this elevator drops you off and you just start with whatever the people who force you to go down there have told you to do, and it can be a wide range of different objectives, bringing stuff in, starting up, generators in this derelict complex, or you can bring stuff into the complex and then install stuff. You can take stuff out of the complex. You can, find items, collect a certain amount of a certain thing, and then you got to find the exit elevator and get out.
Okay, so you've got objectives to accomplish while down inside this complex, things that you need to do, things you need to find. Do they vary for like each drop that you go in? You have a different objective to accomplish, or is it like we have a set amount of things you need to do within the story arc to get out of there, period?
So we have this sort of what we call an expedition director.
Okay.
That will control aspects of the experience, where you need to go, what you're looking for, where the enemies are, and other conditions that I can't really talk about right now. But there's a lot of stuff that will change how you approach the mission, and sometimes force you to play in a certain way. But you will know this before you go down, because
so you can plan.
One of the important pillars of the design is to allow the player to make informed decisions.
Okay.
So you build up this sort of golf bag of tools and weapons, and
basically look at their loadout.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the mission. We choose to call them expeditions because we want to move away from the military sort of lingo.
Okay.
Because these guys aren't really, aren't military. So, but you look at the expedition, what you can expect from it, and you choose your tools and weapons, and you go down. Already from that point, it's really important that all the four members of the team really collaborate and communicate and talk about, covering the bases and who brings this tool, and does anyone have this sort of thing that could, help us if this situation comes up. So already from that point, it's really important for everyone to really make sure that the team as a whole becomes the Swiss Army knife that can take on the challenges that'll be thrown at you when you go down there. And then you will hopefully feel like, the game didn't cheat you, but there's going to be like unpredictable things happening still. So you got to really be on your toes.
Right. You got to be able to adapt while you're down there with the tools that you brought in.
Absolutely, yeah.
What can you tell us about the story and the characters? Why are they doing this? And, can you tell us anything about that?
As mentioned, they do it because they're forced to. They're being kept sort of prisoners and are forced to go down there
Okay.
That's really why they do it, because no one would want to go down there.
Yeah, obviously put themselves in that situation. They don't have a choice.
No one's really doing
Really,
it for
yeah, for the fun of it.
willingly for
Yeah.
the fun of it. No, exactly. So obviously the captors, don't want to go down there. That's why they force these people to
Yeah.
do it instead.
Now, is this
And
like an alien planet? Is it a post-apocalyptic future? Can you say anything about that?
I can't say anything about that.
Okay,
No.
all right. So that
Sorry,
we'll see
that
more
has
when
to
that
be one
comes
of the
out.
mysteries.
Okay.
That has to be one of the mysteries. As is, like, where did the monster come from, and what was the complex when it was still in, operational? Who built it and created it, and
Okay.
who are these people keeping us, down here, and what's their agenda? There's a lot of different, interesting questions that we are not prepared to really discuss right now. Yeah,
That's good though that there's a lot to it, because it could have just been a simply, hey, drop in here, get this, avoid getting killed, and get out. But the fact that you're building a universe around the situation and the characters, as well as what they're getting into, which it says a lot as what's coming down the road. It gets us a little more excited about it.
Yeah. So since we want to push the dialogue and the characters and really take that to the next level, we wanted to have a professional writer write the dialogue and help us with the story.
Okay.
So I was watching this no clip documentary on YouTube. That's a crowdfunded.
Oh yeah.
Gaming documentary.
Yeah, he does some really good
channel.
documentaries.
Yeah, really good. And they were talking to id Software, the developers of the Doom game from 2016. And at one point, the game designer, Hugo Martin, I think is his name, he looks into the camera and like, yeah, and you should hire this guy if you're looking for a writer. This guy is freelance, so he's available and works really quick, and he's great. So that was kind of a sort of improvised thing he just said, and it felt like he was talking directly to me, because I was looking at it, and we were looking for a writer, and I looked at the game, like the credits for Doom, and the writer was Adam Gascoigne, and I looked him up on LinkedIn, and I connected with him there and sent a message like, hey, you want to be involved with GTFO? I hear from a certain source that you're freelance. So he actually got this job through Hugo Martin from
right.
the creative director on Doom, actually talking about him
through a documentary with no clip.
Yeah, the no clip interview. So Adam Gascoigne, he wrote all the dialogue and all the sort of the logbook entries and stuff for Doom. And he's been writing for Call of Duty 3, and worked on Call of Duty Black Ops and The Last of Us, and
so he's got a pretty good list of credits to his name there.
Yeah. He's not new to he's not a new kid on the block. So
yeah, he's been doing this for a while.
Yeah, so that's the guy that's helping us develop the characters and really write the story, and he's perfect because he's British, but he's lived in Los Angeles for the past 20 years, so he can really write the dialogue to match the lingo of a person from the US and from the British Islands. So we created these characters to kind of utilize that as well.
Yeah. Well, it looks good. Just a little bit we picked up from the trailer. Looks like the dialogue's pretty solid. It's natural. It feels like real people. It's not forced, like you said. They're not gimmicky one-liners, your basic jarhead space marine, but they feel like they're real guys in a situation talking about real things. When he says, it'll sell, and the other guy's like, everything sells. It feels natural.
Yeah. I'm glad you think so, because
definitely.
We're really hoping that it's going to be, it's going to be tight in all aspects of the product, of course. But the dialogue and so how it's written, how it's performed by both the voice actors, and of course how it's implemented in the game, so that it comes at the right time. And a lot of work and thought has to that. So
cool.
Adam Gascoigne is helping us with that, and that feels we're really happy to have him do that, because he really takes it to the next level.
Yeah, and it's looks like it's going to turn out pretty good. So we'll see more of that as it comes down the road, so we can actually get more of the story and some more of that dialogue in there.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll introduce the world to the characters and the storyline later on.
Perfect.
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, you're not the jarheads that are going to be like, give them hell and just throw you
Yeah.
in battle. These characters are really like, they just want to survive to live, to see another day.
Yeah.
So and that informs how they speak about things, and so they're not going to really be
Not so much battle hard, a
much,
little more emotional on it.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not macho, and
Yeah.
because I'm writing some dialogue for the game, and I'm just really trying to avoid, like, if there are like reinforcements of new enemies coming when you're already fighting enemies. It's not like the characters are going to say like, oh, more monsters coming to the party or something. Calling the combat zone a party or something.
Yeah, like they're happy to be there.
Yeah, exactly. That's not what this game is about. It's really like these people are trying to survive, and they're scared, and they're sometimes outgunned and don't have really what it takes, and they're really trying to face these impossible odds. Yeah, and we're really trying to make it that serious. A lot of people said when they saw the trailer in that room where you have the the volume light and
you throw the turret out.
The walk through this room with some canisters and like science fiction-y sort of boxes and stuff, and cables on the walls, and in the end of the room there's this fan that kind of spins slowly, and there's like volume light coming through the fan. It's really atmospheric.
It's definitely.
And people instantly thought of. We saw some reaction videos on YouTube, and a lot of people said that it feels really Aliens sort of. And it is like we really draw inspiration from Aliens, but we really don't want the macho jarhead sort of lingo. It's not like look alive and check six and all these. That's not the terminology of GTFO. These are not battle hardened people, and in that sense, I'd say we've drawn a lot of more inspiration setting wise or atmosphere wise from the third Alien movie, even though that in my opinion and a lot of people's opinion is inferior, of course, to the first two Alien movies. It has a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
And all these flawed characters that are stuck in this place. It sort of mirrors that to a greater extent than the other two movies,
right?
With the prisoners and the
being stuck in a situation they can't really help.
And the claustrophobic sort of
claustrophobic and natural, like you said, they're not space marines battling the bugs.
Exactly, they're not space marines.
They're just guys stuck in a situation.
But they do have the. Obviously, the sentry guns from the
which looked awesome, by the way. The sentry guns look so cool,
and that laser, that scans, back and forth. Yeah, you can see it in the trailer. It reacts.
It's a cool moment because they're the monsters, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But the monsters are busting down the door. The sentry gun pops up. You see the laser, the scanner coming across. And you can see like the smoke drifting through the laser, through the light. Yeah, it's such a cool, just like I said, the atmosphere just looks amazing, and a lot of great elements. But I want to talk about the monsters real quick. We know there's something called sleepers because they mention it directly. Sleepers, they're walking by them, don't disturb them. Can you talk about maybe variations? Are we going to see big monsters? Some of the bigger ones, like you've talked about Left 4 Dead, where they have variations between zombies and tanks and hunters and everything. Are we going to see something similar as far as GTFO is concerned?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things where GTFO will be the next step, sort of, in those 4-player cooperative third-person shooter games.
Okay.
Where Left 4 Dead and the Payday games have been the predecessors, sort of. But that's one of the areas where there's a recipe, sort of, that you don't want to change.
Yeah.
So as in Left 4 Dead and as in the Payday games, you have these sort of enemies that are the sort of meat and potatoes sort of enemies, and then you have the tanks and the special enemies that you have to attack in a certain way, or that come in certain situations and become dangerous. If you kind of stray away from the team and
Right.
stuff like that. So we have these sort of, you know, disablers and stuff. Vermintide has that sort of stuff as well, where you have these ads, you know, enemies,
Yeah.
the normal ones, and then
Yeah.
you have these special enemies that demand more of a tactical approach,
Right.
or just pure, you know, firepower,
Yeah. Just lots
or
of ammo.
or hacking power, maybe is the word in
Oh,
Vermin,
okay. Okay.
because you have melee weapons.
Yeah. You guys on your YouTube channel have shown some of the mocap, and I really
Yeah.
like the design of how they move and the way they attack. It looks pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, and that was captured specifically for the game.
Mhm.
And then we've heard afterwards that people thought it was captured, like the animations were captured specifically for the trailer because they look so sweet in the game. But that's actually like everything in the trailer is actually captured from us playing the game.
Yeah,
so
it looks great.
we just try to like act the situations and record that from
Right.
one point of view.
Right. And the music, you have been doing composing and producing since the beginning. Are you doing the music on this as well, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
What kind of theme can we expect? Is it going to be more horror oriented? Is it going to be any kind of like upbeat, intense action? I mean, what's the idea behind the composition for the music?
We can start by talking a little bit about the Payday soundtrack, because it's special in a way, because the approach with the soundtrack for the specific, especially the second Payday game, but also the first one in it, sort of, is that the music is not apologetic, or, you know, it doesn't take the back seat. It's not subtle in any way. It's not, you know, it really. I just went in and said, okay, we want a power fantasy sort of being a robber, and you're the cool guy. You just step in and you know, fire your weapon into the ceiling of this bank lobby and just scream to all the civilians there to get down on the ground. And the music should be really, you know, powerful and empowering and make you feel cool.
Yeah.
For the second game, it's even more like supposed to stand on its own, and you're supposed to be able to listen to the music outside of the game and still enjoy it.
Right.
So it's really not subtle. It's very much like almost like club music in a lot of segments. You know, dance music, and really, you know, pumping. It's drum and bass, it's house, it's breakbeat and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really, it takes a lot of attention, and I just figured if people don't like that, they can just turn down the volume or turn it off entirely.
Right, but it pushes the tempo of the game and expresses the intensity and excitement of the whole situation.
Absolutely, yeah. Sets the tone for Payday.
The action, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And for GTFO, it's completely different.
It's the reverse.
Yeah,
don't want you to be excited. We want you to be
terrified. I've already come to terms with the fact that the GTFO soundtrack is not going to sell, you know, as well as the Payday soundtrack is done.
Right.
Because people will be like, Payday soundtrack, I get emails now and then from people like, yeah, I always listen to it when I work out or when I,
right.
you know, I'm out jogging and stuff like that, and it really suits. If I'm driving and hear the music, it really makes me, you know, I drive faster when I hear the music.
It wakes me up.
Yeah, GTFO is not going to be that sort of soundtrack. In fact, I don't really know how we're going to turn the music as it's implemented in the game into something that you can listen to as a standalone sort of listening experience, you know.
Yeah, well, some people like that. Like, if I'm writing something or I've got my mind focused on something that's horror oriented, you know, I get in themes. Like, I like to watch. If I start playing a game, usually next thing I know, I'm watching TV shows and movies that revolve around that game, and I'm starting to listen to music that comes from that game too. So that's one thing, is to put myself in that mindset. If I want to be in the scary tone, I'm going to probably go with GTFO. At least that's what we hope.
Yeah. Well,
the way we push it.
It's very atmospheric. It's very subtle at times. I'm doing a lot more with, you know, just soundscapes and just scary, you know, noises, and there's not a lot of rhythm, and I'm actively trying to avoid creating rhythms where the listener would start to sort of dig it, you know, and bob your head to it and kind of enjoy it. I just want it to be really uneasy. Yeah. It should be like jarring in a way, rather than being able to like find a riff or something that
So basically
that makes it easy listening, sort of.
It's not Doom. We're not coming in here and giving you music that you want to go kick ass and kill demons. We're giving music where you want to like survive and you feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah. In that sense, it's really horror sort of themed. But yeah, obviously when the fight when you're fighting, we're not making a survival horror where you are defenseless and you have to run away. You have weapons and they're powerful, and so there's going to be these situations where it's really action packed, and there's a lot of enemies coming, and a lot of gore, and 4 people standing back to back trying to survive in these dark tunnels. Needs a powerful score. Obviously, so it's gonna be sometimes really heavy drums, but it's more like cinematic stuff. It's not like the drum loops and the breakbeat sort of thing. It's not inspired by Chemical Brothers and Prodigy. It's more like I don't know, Hollywood movies. So it's more like symphonic sort of.
Yeah. Like you said, cinematic.
Which is more cinematic, which is sort of new to me. I haven't done a lot of that music. And what's even more interesting, I don't know if your listeners are interested in that sort of stuff, but to me personally, it's really interesting that this game has, GTFO has a much higher level of complexity when it comes to the implementation of the music than anything I've done before. And it's a challenge for me as a composer to leave it up to the game to the extent that I am, leaving it up to the game to arrange the music. So I'm creating these tiny bits, these short, like bass lines and drum parts and melodies and pads and things, and I let the game sort of piece it together. Like it can take this bass line and this drum part and then
that's cool.
create something, and then we can actually have the game, like if it doesn't play for more than four bars, and then it changes. It can change just the drums, and the bass line can keep going. So actually, the game kind of arranges the music as it goes.
That's cool.
And it's supposed to really, be super expressive and flexible, and quickly adapt to whatever situation you're in. Because as opposed to Payday, this game you can just walk around and explore, and they can be banter and stuff because they think that it's cool, and then they like the situation is cool. It's and then they see sleepers or something, like, okay, we can avoid a confrontation here if we just go silent. Characters start to whisper and the music becomes more tense, and then if you get out of that situation, it goes back, and they don't banter for maybe a minute or two after they've left that situation, because they still have that sort of adrenaline and that tension in the air. So the dialogue system and the music sort of goes hand in hand in that sense. But if there is a combat situation, it will go into that, and then the music has different levels of how intense the combat is, and you can have enemies come at you, and if you run away down a corridor and the enemies don't have actual line of sight, you will hear the music kind of change as well, and not be as intense. It will still have that stressful pulse because they're looking for you. Right. But as soon as they kind of have line of sight and charge at you, then the music, layers of music will, it shifts to indicate that. So there's a lot of things happening. I think Payday has like Payday has stealth, and then the lull in between the assault waves, and then the assault waves. So that's like stealth, lull, and assault. Those are the 3 levels, and I think we have like 8 or something.
Okay.
So it's a lot more complex, and there's a lot more like work going into making the game have control over the music, and being able to throw in little stingers and stuff.
The game can adjust the sound and the music to the situation is pretty cool. Not only that, because we see you go, like I said, the shift. It reminds me of something like from Metal Gear, where when you're spotted, the music's intense and, like I said, upbeat, survive, escape, hide. But when they're searching for you, it shifts to something quieter and stealthier. But in this situation, the game can not only do that, but completely change the soundtrack on you by adding different elements on its own.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's awesome.
And I as I mentioned earlier, it's sort of simple gameplay wise in Payday, where you're in stealth, and if one guy is detected by the guards or something, everyone is compromised, and
Yeah.
then you go into like, okay, well, let's do it the loud way, because we can't kill this guard and go back to sneaking.
Yeah, we've already been spotted.
Yeah, once you're spotted, it's over, and then you can't go back to stealth in that
Right.
mission. You have to restart. Whereas in GTFO, you can actually go into stealth and come out of stealth and go back into stealth, and go into combat and back into stealth. And yeah, it's even, you know, one character can stealth through a situation, and other characters can be on the other end of the map, or
Yeah.
and they're in a combat situation. And then we have to sort of, it's really complex. We're making it hard for us, really, which is really stupid because we're so few people. But it's a super ambitious project, GTFO, in terms of, you know, programming and
Yeah.
music and the dialogue and the game design in general. Because we allow all complex situations, but we really want it to be the next, you know, step in the evolution of this pedigree of games that we've talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole 4-person co-op, in this case survival, which is awesome.
Yeah,
So is there any kind of alpha, beta, or early access that people should be looking for?
we know the guys who Fat Shark, that developed Vermintide 1 and 2, and
Okay.
from their post-mortem of the first Vermintide game, we learned that they wished that they had tested more.
Yeah.
So we really want to test GTFO and collaborate with the community to do so. If it will be in the shape of an alpha or beta or some sort of access solution,
Mhm.
we can't really say yet. We don't know exactly. We want to do something like that
Yeah.
to make sure that it's tight once it really hits the shelves, so to speak.
Okay. And I guess the best way to stay on top of that, one thing is you guys can follow it on Steam, add it to your wish list.
Oh yeah, absolutely, do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, join the ambassador program, which is on the 10chambers.com website, where
Yeah.
you guys send out regular emails to keep everybody up to date, not only on GTFO, but what 10 Chambers is doing, some of the things they're
Yeah,
working on.
not so regular.
Not regular, but you were there,
should add, yeah.
so hopefully you'll
Yeah,
catch the
like-
big ones.
Yeah, exactly. We try not to spam your
Yeah,
your
yeah.
folders, your inbox folders with emails. So
With
it's
daily
really
emails. Hey, have
every
you
other
seen
month,
this?
maybe every other month. So far, it's been every other month or something like that.
Right.
It'll ramp up as we go. Come closer to release or early access or beta, whatever.
Yeah,
it'll
as
be.
some of the big moments start to happen, the next steps, and then obviously
Definitely.
social media, which
And 2018 is the year. So sign up for the ambassador program. I mean, it's a glorified mailing list, really. But what we've said that people are supposed to get, exclusive content and like early information about stuff, and we really intend to do that. We've been so focused on the game. That's the problem.
yeah,
And when it comes down to it, the game is more important, really. Like, it has to be a good, a tight product. But this year we really intend to deliver on that. So we will make up for the lack of that sort of content that's been in the ambassador
Right.
program lately.
We will do better. We'll do better at
Yeah.
utilizing ambassador program.
Yes, definitely.
And then of course social media, Twitter and Facebook. Anything on Instagram or anywhere else, and where can they follow you guys at?
I think Twitter is the best.
Okay.
Because it's so direct, and we're quite active on the Twitter account, but also the Steam forum.
Yeah, Steam forum.
Have a Reddit channel.
Oh, okay.
We don't want to take that, for our own. We're driven by the community, so it's not there. There's no official, Reddit for, that we started.
Right, but it is out there.
We're kind of lurking. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're kind of
they pay
lurking,
attention.
on that as well. But I'd say we're more active on the Steam forum. So
Okay.
If you have more of a, lengthy sort of question or something, then post it on the Steam forum.
Right. Yeah, definitely on the Reddit, Steam forum, and then you guys have a YouTube channel as well, which is kind of cool. There's not a whole lot on there, but I do like that. Like you said, you had the mocap stuff on there, the trailers on there, and I expect you guys will probably be uploading more as you get further in development.
Definitely, yes, yes. It'll ramp up, as I mentioned. Everything social media wise and
Yeah.
marketing wise, collaborating with the community thing, all that stuff will ramp up during this year's.
Right. So it's 10 Chambers at 10 Chambers. That's TEN Chambers on Twitter. If you guys want to follow, you could type in 10 and then Chambers, but it's actually at TEN Chambers. It's the same thing for YouTube, right?
Yeah, 10 Chambers Collective.
10 Chambers Collective on YouTube, 10chambers.com for the website.
If you search for 10 Chambers, the top result.
It's got the which looks like a cylinder from a revolver where you would put the bullets in with the 10 in the middle.
Yeah, the 10 Chambers.
Yeah, the 10 Chambers.
Yeah.
So a good place to stay up to date on it. And if you guys want to keep up to date on information, make sure Twitter is the best one. Follow YouTube for cool videos they put out, and then put it on your wish list. Go to the Steam forums if you want to start a conversation about it. Reddit's a good place to go. You guys are all over it.
Absolutely, yeah. We're really intent on creating a positive atmosphere in the community and create a community where people are really intent on collaborating and together, as is the objective of the game, because it's going to be demanding in terms of coordination and communication.
Okay.
I don't know. We didn't bring that up actually when we talked about the game, but
actually,
it's going to be hardcore. We often use the word hardcore when we talk about GTFO, and that is what's going to be hardcore about the game. Like, it's not going to be leading the player by the hand as a lot of nowadays. It's not going to be your character gets better because the stats get better and you don't have to get better. Like, it's going to be skill based. It's a skill based FPS, and yes, you're gonna get better weapons and more powerful weapons.
Right.
You're gonna get tools and better tools, but it's gonna be demanding.
I think people appreciate that nowadays. More difficult games need to be. For a while, we got into a point where, like you said, it was a lot of hand holding, but I think people are getting back to the point where they like challenging games. They want to be challenged. They don't want you to hold their hand. They want to feel like they earned it.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. I mean, there's an audience for stuff, because that's the niche product that we're doing here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a love letter to the people who have played hundreds and hundreds of hours of all these other games like Killing Floor and the Payday games and Left 4 Dead and stuff. People who are playing together and are looking for a real challenge. Yeah, it's going to be hardcore. That's worth mentioning as well.
Okay. Do you guys have any idea when it's coming out?
2018.
This year.
Exact as we are prepared to this moment.
Well, the fact that it just came out of nowhere for the Game Awards, I mean, that's pretty quick. It's not 3 months like Payday, but still, you're getting it this year. And I imagine as we get closer to the big things like E3, we're probably going to see more, right, from you guys? Hopefully.
Yes. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Let's say, I mean, it's the tradition in other parts of the world, but I think in Sweden, if you're engaged with a partner, you're supposed to get married within a year. That's the time limit. That's the traditional time limit.
Interesting. Yeah.
So let's put it this way: since we announced at the Game Awards, then the deadline is the next Game Awards.
Awesome.
That's
okay.
At the latest, we'll release it by then, I think.
So it's coming soon, and I'm super excited. Super excited about this. It looks like a lot of fun. Just the whole, guys. If you haven't seen the trailer, make sure you check it out. I'll link it on here. I don't know if it's all right with 10 Chambers for me to add it to this video. It's completely up to you guys.
No. Put it in there if you want to. But
definitely.
Yeah, you can link it to the official version in our YouTube account as well.
So we'll add it to this video. I'll link it as well, and I will link the social media and all those ways to stay in contact with them. And keep a close eye on this game, because I think it's something that's going to be pretty exciting when it comes out. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm sure it's going to take over all kinds of streaming platforms. People will be playing it like crazy. So we love co-op. Yes. Co-op is a good thing to, not only if you're a streamer or if you have your friends. That's another thing that we got away from for a long time, is their co-op kind of got pulled out of the gaming world. And now we're seeing it come back, and games are like, hey, we still want to play games with our friends. We still want to be active in the communities if you're a streamer, to have other people play a game with you, or your community play games with you. So it's going to be nice to have that you guys have been pushing that for a while in your games, as well as this one is changing the tone and giving us something scary for a change, which is going to be awesome.
Yes.
Do you have any final thoughts for everybody? Anything you want to put out there from 10 Chambers or you personally, or anything, you know, about GTFO? Closing remarks?
Closing remarks. No, I mean, you said it so well. Just check it out. Check out the trailer if you haven't seen it already. Add it to your wish list to keep track on, what's happening on Steam. And engage with us on social media, mainly Twitter and the Steam forum. And look forward to it. Stay on the hype train and invite others on board.
Yeah, spread the word. This is something that, and I'm sure you guys are going to garner enough attention as it gets closer to it, but start telling people now.
So we're really relying on people, word of mouth sort of.
Right. I think that's one thing that I thought of a little bit earlier that I didn't bring up. The fact that it came out of nowhere, and you guys didn't have any kind of Kickstarter support or GoFundMe or anything. You just dove into this with a new company and took it on. So it's pretty amazing. It looks awesome. So again, thank you. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me and for representing 10 Chambers and representing GTFO. I had a great time. It was nice getting to know you and talk about your background. And I'm excited. I really am.
Thanks for having me. And we're looking forward to come back to this podcast once we have.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions that have been unanswered in this. So as we come closer to the release of the game, hopefully we can come back and talk more about
I would love that. I'd love to have you back on once we get more details that we can talk about, so we can get into it some more. Like I said, I'm excited for it, so it's going to be really, really cool.
Lovely.